Greetings, everybody. My name is Dexter Kendrick. I'd like to welcome you back to the all-new Heavenly Body TV, the place for relevant astrological advice, and psychic instruction. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the Dexter Kendrick Soul channel for more astrological updates and psychic phenomena. Today, we're going to be discussing Mercury retrograde in Libra. Mercury is going to be going retrograde in Libra on September 17th and is going to be retrograde until October 9th. Now, once again, as I say in every video, kind of like a broken record, the planets are the driving force of our entire horoscope. So whenever we are talking about something that's coming down the pipe, some phenomena that's happening in each of our lives, we're talking about the movement of the planets as they relate to our psychological processes, how we begin to process life, experience life, and then the signs represent how we filter that process, how we filter and see, the lens through which we're able to see what's happening in our lives. We'll discuss Mercury retrograde today because a lot of people, even if they're not that familiar with astrology, have heard at least about Mercury retrograde, and many people ask me, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that it's bad luck or that I shouldn't be doing anything? The truth is that life continues moving, whether planets are going forward or backward, at all times. So we have to learn to adapt. And the key with astrology, one of the things I like most about astrology is that it helps us to gain perspective and value, and allows us to move with the movement of life and to acknowledge and appreciate why things are happening and to give us a perspective and conversation for that. So moving forward, we're just going to briefly discuss, because Mercury is currently going stationary retrograde, which means that in the sky it's appearing to go to become still and not move at all. It's an optical illusion, but nonetheless, Mercury rules over certain things such as communication, body language, so all forms of communication, not just verbal, but also nonverbal communication. It also is associated with short distance travel and commerce, so all kinds of movement. Historically, if you were familiar with Mercury at all in Roman mythology, he was essentially the messenger of the gods. He was able to go between the different deities, sending messages here and there. Many times he's depicted with boots that have wings on them because he was so fast. He was a fast mover, and he was so fast he was able to carry messages very quickly. He even was the only god outside of Pluto, Hades, who was able to go into the underworld and back out again. If any of us have studied Greek or Roman mythology, we know that the underworld, or Hades, people could enter after they had finished their physical life here, but they were not allowed to leave. The only person who was allowed to leave was the person who was in charge of that, and that was Pluto, Hades. And so Mercury represents the same thing for us. In the sky, Mercury is the planet that is the closest to the sun, and so it moves very quickly around the sun all the time. You will notice that it follows the sun very quickly. If any of you are familiar with astrology, it is always within a sign just before the sun, or it's also in the sign that the sun may be in your birth chart at any given time. And so what happens with commerce, communication, all types of technology fall under Mercury as well. So our forms of internet communication, the way we verbally speak with people, our vehicles, which usually have some type of mechanics to them, and any kind of object that has some kind of inner working falls under the auspice of Mercury. And so what happens when Mercury begins to go retrograde is something that we're going to be covering here. When Mercury appears to go backward in the sky, what it does is it gives us an opportunity. For the most part, our minds are constantly moving. Like today, at the airing of this video, you're probably thinking about what you have to do today and tomorrow. You're probably not thinking too much about what you did yesterday, last week, last month. And so without hindsight, the essence of Mercury retrograde is the power of hindsight. So if life is nothing if it's just forward movement, because we don't learn anything about where we've come from and where we've been. And that's how we're able to strengthen and structure our goals for moving forward. And so as Mercury takes this opportunity for a period of time from September 17th to October 9th, we're going to be going backward and taking a look, reviewing some things, and making some significant changes so we can strengthen our forward movement when it resumes its forward movement on October 9th. So is Mercury retrograde bad luck? Absolutely not. It's actually highly beneficial because hindsight is 20/20. How many of us have gone through an era in our lives feeling like life was so difficult or challenging, and then after we overcame that crisis, 5 or 10 years later, we're able to look back on it and say, wow, this gave me the skills and knowledge that I needed in order to function where I am now. And most of us will also be able to assert that our goals and plans from several years ago perhaps have already begun to come to fruition, and some of us may have already achieved some of those goals, and now we're looking at creating newer goals. But without the hindsight of Mercury retrograde, we may not recognize the tools that we already have under our belt to undertake those new projects and endeavors. So let's take a look at how Mercury retrograde is going to be expressing itself. And that would be to discuss the conversation of the sign Libra, the constellation of Libra. And so Libra, essentially, like we know, the signs always represent how planets or psychological processes are going to be expressing themselves. Really what they mean is they're the lens through which we're going to see life in regard to communication, commerce, trade, short distance travel, our daily commute, etc. Also, with regard to our daily schedule, the way we function on a regular basis. Mercury retrograde is an opportunity for us to become aware of how we're functioning on a daily basis and to reprioritize, to restructure how that's going to be, to restructure what's most important to us at this time. So if we take a look at Libra, we have to take a look at some of the aspects and qualities of Libra. What does Libra represent? Because that's how Mercury is going to be showing up for us from September 17th until October 9th. Libra is the sign of partnerships and marriage. Libra, you'll know historically that marriage was an arrangement that was mostly mutually beneficial for most parties. It really didn't have too much to do with love. You may not have even necessarily liked your partner, but it may have been mutually beneficial for you and mutually beneficial for your business, which at that time was perhaps your family or your heritage or your lineage. So Libra, while it might be associated with partnerships and marriage, is associated with contractual arrangements, commitments, promises to other individuals. Also with how two heads can be better than one. Certainly one individual working on their own diligently towards some objective or goal certainly can achieve that goal, but it may be faster and more judicious to link up with another person who's on the same path, or another person who has skills that you don't yet possess, so that you can then realize those skills and talents within yourself and create something larger than you would have created on your own. That is the essence of this transit. Libra is ruled by harmonious Venus. I touched on Venus as she is currently expressing herself through Leo in my first video. But Venus is one of the rulers of Libra. Libra represents intellectual property. Libra is an intellectual sign. It's considered to be an air sign. And so it rules over those things such as seduction and aesthetics. How we appear on the outside, how we use our charms and our manners and our status sometimes, and even our class, or how we feel about ourselves, the air about ourselves that we carry, in order to draw to us that which we desire. Venus, once again, is a magnetic quality. Mercury expressing itself through Libra is going to be expressing itself in a way that allows us to use our charms to negotiate with other individuals regarding something that we want. Now, Libra will fall in a different area of the chart for each of us, but once you identify what area of that chart it is, I encourage you to go to alabe.com and look up your own birth chart, enter your birth information, take a look at what house Libra is going to be falling in, because this is the area where negotiation and linking up with another individual in partnership is going to be most beneficial for you. Many people find that during the retrograde period, because we are looking backward and using hindsight as a guiding factor, that people from the past begin to resume communication with us, people we haven't heard from in years, perhaps ex-lovers, loved ones, because Venus rules partnerships and marriage, is not unlikely to hear from an ex while Mercury is retrograde in Libra, the sign of partnerships and marriage. So we're going to be taking a look at that. Business partners that we perhaps have worked with previously, or people who we've negotiated with previously, and those negotiations perhaps have been put on the back burner because we weren't able to get on the same page. those are extremely appropriate to engage in those conversations at this time, because we'll be able to have a more clear conversation with those individuals based upon hindsight and where we have come since our last meeting. Many things perhaps have changed in your life. Certainly I know they have changed in mine. And so we're able to see very clearly where we stand by interacting with these people from our past. Sometimes old best friends can come back into our lives and we can have conversations with them. Perhaps they are no longer our best friends. Perhaps that is not the message that life is sending us, but it's an opportunity for us to see who we used to be and who we are now. That can certainly give us greater value with regard to ourselves and where we're headed. And so certainly projects at this time might be put on hold. If you were currently working on something or having a negotiation, perhaps you've gotten a new job, perhaps you've been offered a contract to move forward with some project. It will take a longer bit of time to hear back from employers who are reviewing your application and other applications. You can expect to hear from them around October. If you've interviewed for a position, you can expect there might be a bit of a lag before you get some communication regarding the outcome of that. If you are currently submitting applications because you recently lost your job, like I kind of discussed for some people at the end of Venus retrograde in Leo, then you can expect that things will be picking up. But what is also happening is that you are shifting your priorities and how you're thinking about yourself and what you bring to the table. Libra represents not only competition, but also how we negotiate with individuals in business and personal relationships. So in a business relationship, we could be thinking about what qualities we bring to the table, so that when we have further discussions with employers, the next time they call us, we have a stronger conversation for what we're doing already and what we can offer them. Of course, keeping in the back of our mind at all times what it means for us and what's in it for us, because Libra is nothing if yet self-interested. And that's not necessarily in a bad way. It's a conversation of what are you going to do for me, and this is what I can do for you. It's a give and take. Love is a give and take. But love in a Venus way, a Venusian way that is very airy and intellectual, as it is expressed through Libra, is the conversation about ideas, the idea of love. And so you might be finding that if you're engaging with somebody at this time, usually relationships at this time, new ones don't tend to work out too well, because there's information about the other individual you don't really know. But if you are already dating somebody or in a committed relationship with someone, there's new information that can come up that actually can strengthen the relationship, that can help you see your partner more clearly than you perhaps could before. The conversation here is going to be around listening as well. And also, you might want to take care of your lower back. That's where stress is going to be showing up. Libra rules the lower back, the lumbar area of our back and spine, and also the buttocks. So you might want to take a look if you're having issues in that area as to where you may not be communicating as effectively as you perhaps should. So I wanted to make this a very short conversation regarding Mercury's retrograde in Leo, because communication can go a little haywire. The longer I speak, the more likely it will be for my conversation to become muddled. So it is appropriate to review goals and plans and projects. It is appropriate to review all of your relationships in business and personal. It is appropriate to revise any projects or endeavors that you're interested in pursuing. By the time Mercury meets up with the sun in the sky on October 1st, you're going to be itching to start something brand new anyway, itching to make plans for the winter time and the rest of the fall, itching to move forward on some project or endeavor, or itching to just get out of the house and do something more than what you perhaps have been allowing yourself to do over the last few months. So there's some movement coming, but life is nothing if not valuable in its ability for us to value the 2020 aspect of hindsight and how it gives us more perspective and clarity. So I encourage us all to take a look at what projects it is that we're working on, to strengthen those projects and to be ready to move forward October 9th when things pick up speed. There's an amazing aspect coming down the pipe this week also on September 17th, where Saturn is moving back into Sagittarius. I'm going to be covering that on my next video. Please don't miss that. That is a tremendous movement for us. Anybody who's familiar with Saturn, we'll be taking a new look at an old devil. And so please join me with that. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Dexter Kendrick Soul channel. Mercury retrograde is not to be feared. In fact, you may come out on top with regard to relationships, new commitments, contractual arrangements, and your business endeavors. So be blessed, and I'll speak with you soon. Thank you.